On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, the Pac-12, as first reported on the Mark Titus Show, the Pac-12 is in fact dead. And I would say the Big 12 is holding the knife. It is not the Big Ten's fault. The Big Ten graciously came out many times over the course of the last few days saying we do not want to kill the Pac-12. That is not our intent. When we took USC and UCLA, we were doing so just because it kind of fell into our lap. But we are great people, and we would never purposely kill the Pac-12 by taking Oregon and Washington as well. So it is not our fault. We were simply reacting to a fluid situation that was going on with the Big 12 adding all the schools that they added. And we were just reactive to that, even though we took USC and UCLA first. And the moment that we did that, the writing was on the wall that the Pac-12 was dead. Anyway, it wasn't the Big Ten's fault is basically what I'm trying to say here. So yeah, the Pac-12 is, as of right now, as of this recording, it seems like Cal and Stanford are in talks with like basically every conference somehow, which I don't really get. Like, it felt like the Big Ten might kick the tires on them because of the academics part, which is, I think the average fan laughs at that and rolls their eyes and says, "Who gives a shit about academics? This is football, baby. This is America. What do we care about school?" We did. Cardale Jones tweet, "We didn't come here to play school. We came here to play football, damn it. Why would we want Stanford and Cal?" And then the nerds stuck their hand up in the back of the class and they were like, "Are you aware of research grants? Are you aware of endowments? Are you aware of..." And then the jocks were like, "Go ahead, explain more." And I think that's the appeal of Stanford and Cal, is that the Big Ten loves research. And boy, do they do a lot of it. And they have a shit ton of money. So maybe there's a world where they want it. But as of right now, as of this recording, when I sat down, there's a lot of chatter about the ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference, taking two schools from the Bay Area, which makes total sense. And it all checks out. Listen, I understand if you're burnt out on conference realignment at this point. If you're someone who listens to the show, follows the show, I assume you're following a lot of other shows out there, a lot of other sports content, and maybe there's a world where you're like, you know what, this is insane. I can't do it anymore. I'm done with conference realignment content. God damn it, just kick off these football games and let's get it going. That's fine. I can't get enough of it personally, and I don't say that in like a perverse way where like I'm like turned on by like, ooh, some chaos. I can't believe these schools are moving around. It's like the exact opposite. Like, I'm like watching in horror at what is happening to college sports. And it's just like freaking me the hell out that like this is the reality we live in. And yeah, I mean, this was something that the death of the Pac-12. I mean, this is something that I saw coming 10 million miles away. I've talked about it on the show a million times that like living out in LA was great for my perspective with this stuff, where like it no longer was a joke to me. It was like very real that I would go to bars and try to watch Big Ten games or even Pac-12 games for that matter. And like the bartenders would look at me like, "What are you trying to watch?" I'm like, "UCLA, the UCLA basketball team." They're like, never heard of it. And I was pulling my hair out at how crazy it was that this is the reality of the Pac-12. So this is something that like I feel like the writing has been on the wall for whatever. But then when it actually happened and Oregon and Washington joined right after Colorado and Utah and Arizona State joined the Big 12, and you look up and there's 4 teams left in the Pac-12, I'm shocked. Like it's so bizarre how both of those can be true, where it's like I'm not surprised at all. I saw this coming forever away, and yet the reality of it sinks in, and I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? Oregon and Washington in the Big Ten? What are we doing? Anyway, I say all that to say, on the show today, I'm bringing on Geoff Schwartz, who does NFL stuff, played in the NFL for 8 years, does NFL coverage, does college football coverage, works at Fox Sports. Our times overlap for a little bit. I think we talk about it a little bit, but I thought Geoff would be a great perspective because he's a guy who has grown up with the Pac-10 and the Pac-12 and has been very, very into that conference. And it's been like in the same way that I'm a Big Ten guy, he's a Pac-12 guy through and through. And I think like when the Pac-12 died, there's a lot of people that just kind of laughed at it and said, myself included, and you're just kind of like, it's kind of like a meme of just like, wow, what a joke of a conference that was, and what a horrendous media deal they had. And remember Pac-12 Network, how bad that was, and what happens to Bill Walton. And, like these are all jokes that I've made too. They forget that there are people that like grew up with this shit and like care deeply about these rivalries and about these schools and all that sort of thing. And Geoff was interesting. I saw him do a Twitter video where he was basically like half excited about Oregon because Oregon won, I put in quotes, won in this realignment stuff by getting into the Big Ten, but at the same time he was like kind of like, yeah, this will be interesting, and it'll be I'm curious to see what happens when we play Ohio State and Michigan, all that. But he also had a perspective like mournful about the loss of the Pac-12 and all that sort of thing. So I thought Geoff would be I just wanted to talk to him about it. I thought it'd be fun to talk to, and I turned out to be pretty spot on. We had a great conversation about all this stuff and the moving parts of realignment. And, like I said already, it might be something that is a topic that is burned out or a lot of people are burnt out on. I am not. I'll be fascinated by it forever. And kind of like I said to him, I don't think we're done. I think we might be done for a little while, but we're never going to be done. This is the new landscape of college sports. Everybody's going to be looking every which way at what the next great move they can make is. And I don't know. It sucks, but we're here. This is the reality, and I hate it. I hate it very much. So with that being said, we have shout outs. We're going to do a bunch of fun stuff on the end. TJ's fired up. He's got a bunch of Rutgers shit he wants to talk about, and I do too, actually, as it turns out. I'm excited to talk little Rutgers update. We can just turn that into a segment. We got that coming. A bunch of fun stuff with shout outs after we talk to Geoff, but first up, we're going to talk to Geoff Schwartz about Oregon to the Big Ten. All right, joining me now is Geoff Schwartz, my old Fox Sports colleague. We were technically colleagues. I don't think we ever actually did anything together. We never took advantage of that, Geoff.
No, because I lived in Charlotte, and it was during COVID was a lot of it, right? And you had your little traveling show, man. I wasn't cool enough to make the traveling show. I think sometimes Fox forgets I work for them. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I just think they do. Like, we have this guy who covers college football too. Because I don't do college football with him. I do just NFL, and I cover college football full time as well.
Yeah. That's I was like doing the official host deal where I was like looking up your bio to make sure I had all the bullet points and everything. And your Fox bio is just like NFL analyst, and I was like, I see a lot of college football shit from Geoff like throughout the.
I have two jobs. I do college radio, college sports radio, and I do. And then I do the NFL stuff for Fox Sports. So we didn't get a chance to cross paths. You got to visit a lot of campuses. What was your favorite little?
I did, yeah.
The Dos Equis tour. What was your favorite tour?
The Dos Equis tour. That was a couple years ago. I'm wearing the shirt actually. I didn't even do this on purpose. Fred's in Tigerland that I got in Baton Rouge. It was LSU, and Geoff, I was a massive LSU hater before I went. Not the school. I was a hater of everybody in media talking about night games in Death Valley so much. I just rolled I was like, get over yourself. Like, there's no way it's like that much different than all these other stadiums. And then I went to an LSU Auburn game. The one play I remember is like Bo Nix was scrambling for he must have run like 100 yards to throw a touchdown pass in the back end. I think Auburn won in the end. It was not. It was two bad teams, and I still like walked away. I was like, that was the most insane college football atmosphere I've ever seen in my life. Everything that everybody said about LSU is so true for night games. I walked in. I had 2 beers in my hand that I was drinking tailgating. I go to the game. I'm going through security, and they're metal detecting me. I'm holding the beers up, like clear. I'm not even trying to hide them. I'm just holding them up as they're scanning my waist.
They don't care.
Like, come on through.
I've been to one Alabama LSU game. Weirdly enough, I went in 2011. I was on injured reserve, and I was off, and someone invited me to go. It was the 9-6 LSU overtime victory against Alabama in 2011.
Yeah.
I sat in the LSU family section because that's where the tickets I got. It was the most fun. Like, the most fun I've had at a game. Like, they were every touchdown, they were touchdowns, but the 3 field goals, like beer flying everywhere, like throw their beers up in the air. That's one place I want to visit. I want to do an LSU night game. It'd be a lot of fun.
The night games are incredible. I can't recommend them enough. And again, I say that as somebody who was like, I had like a hater. I wanted to hate it just because I wanted to be a contrarian. I was like, there's no way they're this cool. And then I went and I was like, oh my God, this is very much this cool. So conference realignment, that's the big thing. I watched you did like a I don't know how to describe it, a little monologue Twitter video when the announcement came through that Oregon, your alma mater. For those who don't know, Geoff was a 3-year starter. 3-year starter, I think, at Oregon.
I played my true freshman year, and I started 3 years in a row after that.
Played in the NFL forever. But you're an Oregon guy, and I found it really your perspective interesting, Geoff, because your school won, quote unquote. I'm saying, if we're looking at conference realignment as like there are a couple lifeboats out there and the Pac-12 sinking, Oregon got on a pretty good lifeboat. The Big Ten is financially stable. It's got great TV contracts, all that sort of thing. And yet you seemed very sad about the demise of the Pac-12. Yeah. And I wanted to bring you on the show because I think nationally, the people that are talking about the Pac-12 dying, frankly, are like East Coast people that like don't really have ties to the Pac-12. And it's like, it's almost funny to us because we're like, the Pac-12 was kind of been a joke for a while anyway. Yeah. It's like not as competitive in the eyes of most people nationally, all that. So the demise of the Pac-12 hasn't really, I don't think people care that much. I think people care about the conference realignment, and we'll talk about that later. But I just wanted to ask you, like, out of the gate, like, where are your emotions in just simply mourning the Pac-12? Like, now that we've had a few days to think about it, you're a guy who played Pac-10 football at the time?
Pac-10 football, yeah,
Pac-10 football. You grew up in LA, like you're very familiar with it. Now that this conference is probably dead, or at least dead as we know it, like, what are your emotions right now?
So my parents are Bruin alums as well, and I went to every Bruin game as a kid. I've been to 50 games of the Rose Bowl. I went from the time I was 5. I think the first game I went to was like a 1991 UCLA. It was either UCLA Tennessee or UCLA Nebraska game. That was the first one I went to. Like as a baby, it's the first one I remember. Like I'm deep into Pac-12 country. I do Pac-12 radio for 5 years now. It's weird, man. I saw something today, like the Big Ten Instagram was promoting Oregon. It's just like, it's weird. The video. So there's a couple of things here, right? One is you have to adapt with changing times, right? In any walk of life, whether it's media, whether it's a football with football coaches, and whether it's this landscape of college sports, right? It's changing. Now, you can be angry about it and you can not like it, but you better accept it's happening, right? And it's happening. And so I don't like it. I don't like, Oregon is not a Big Ten school. Washington is not a Big Ten school. UCLA and USC, okay, maybe, but UCLA doesn't care at all about any of this. USC is the one who kind of dragged them along in the process, and USC was the one who wanted to leave for years now. And it doesn't feel like Big Ten. It doesn't feel like Big Ten football. It doesn't feel like Big Ten anything. And I don't like it. I think what made it worse through this whole process was when UCLA and USC left, there was one tweet, right? John Wilner, they're gone. Boom. When Oklahoma and Texas left, it was a SEC Media Day sort of breaking news. And then 1 week later, they were gone, right? I think it was July 31st. Boom, they're gone. This has been going for a year now. It's August 7th right now. UCLA and USC, I think, announced leaving. They left either June 30th or July 30th. I don't know. I don't have the date in my head. It was July 30th. And then a week later, George Kloff, Pac-12 commissioner, says, we're opening up negotiations to early. We're going to get this done and move it along. And then it was 12 months later they're like, yeah, we don't really have this deal. We have this weird Apple deal. It's all streaming for right now. It's a low bit of money. And it's just been this nonstop. And a lot of people on the internet, you know how Twitter can be, a lot of people without a lot of cred were tweeting things out through the whole process. I don't know how right they were. They ended up being right in the end, but you can say things for 6 months and not actually be really true. And I don't think Colorado and Arizona and Oregon and Washington were looking for that long. In fact, Oregon and Washington, all we know now, they were vetted in August for the Big Ten. Didn't end up going in August. So it's just a lot of it's still in all honestly. I'm still like, I wake up in the morning, I look at Twitter and I'm still like, holy crap, like this really happened? This is the last year of the Pac-12?
That's how I like. I'm the same way. I said, like, I saw this coming a million miles away. Like the writing's been on the wall for a while that the Pac-12 could conceivably just completely dissolve. That Oregon and Washington and USC and UCLA could join the Big Ten. And yet when it actually happened, and I'm seeing the Oregon football account tweet out a graphic that just has the Oregon logo with the Big Ten logo, Dude, I just stare at it and I'm like, what the fuck is this? What is this?
It's so weird. And another thing too, like the Pac-12 has been around since 1915. The first 4 schools to join. Oregon was one of the first 4 schools. And UCLA and USC joined in the 20s, and then Arizona joined in the 70s to go from 8 to 10. And as much as people might laugh at the academic part of the conference and the prestige, kind of the uppity nature of the Pac-12 conference at times, it's a legitimate force. Like it was at least a legitimate conference that you thought was too big to fail, right? It happens all the time. I get it. But you thought Stanford and USC and UCLA, these big, giant, even Washington, these big, giant academic universities, and 11 and 12 schools are research schools too. Like, you just never thought that it would go away. You have all these smart people running these schools, all these smart alumni that come from all these Pac-12 schools. And unfortunately, some of those alumni are at Fox Sports, and that's what ended up happening. But nonetheless, like, you'd think they would figure it out, right? They'd figure something out, and they just never did.
And you have LA media market, you have Phoenix, you have Denver with Colorado, you have Seattle. I mean, you have the Bay Area. You have like all these massive markets. That's what's like, I guess, confusing to me, is that I know that people on the West Coast don't care about college sports that much as compared to the rest of the country, but yet they surely they care enough to like I don't know. I think that's what's so bizarre to me, is just like how a conference can just poof be gone. I think like the way I pictured in my head, if the Pac-12 dissolved, would have been like a slow bleed, where it sort of would have been a revolving door of like, maybe UCLA and USC go, but then San Diego State joins, and then maybe Oregon and Washington go, but then like Gonzaga joins for basketball somehow, and like, and they're still like patching it together to where it's like a respectable thing, but it just happened overnight. It was like it happened very slowly and then suddenly, and that seems to be how a lot of things happen. But like it just blows my mind that the Pac-12, something that like I did not grow up on the West Coast, but it's been a constant in my life, and I've always known that there will be Pac-12 sports on at night. On a Saturday night, you can throw on a Pac-12 football game, and those days are gone, and it's just like buddy, so fucking bizarre.
I'm letting you know, one of the narratives coming out of this somehow is that like UCLA and USC won't play night games anymore. Who do you think is on?
That's all they'll play.
Who do you think Big Ten Network is going to put on at 10 p.m. Eastern? Now, they're not going to play your Buckeyes, but Iowa, come on down. You're playing the late game at the Rose Bowl on a Saturday. Like, it's UCLA and USC. Now Oregon and Washington. You have one of those 2 games a week, 1 or 2 games a week are going to be that 10:30 Eastern slot still. I never bought that idea that now that you're safe from night games. No. It's going to be Big Ten after dark or Big 12 after dark. Or now they're talking about Cal and Stanford going to ACC, which is completely silly. But, there's going to be night games still, just not going to be under the Pac-12 brand. That's the thing, is like the Pac-12 had things going for them, right? I mean, they had some positive things. And I'm still trying to get an answer on this. I mean, you could generally piece together an answer, but so far we know that obviously UCLA and USC, Oregon, Washington, the 4 corner schools, and Stanford, 9 schools, our networks want to pay them to be in their conference. We know that, okay? But didn't want to pay them to stay together in the Pac.
That's exactly it. That's what I don't understand.
I see people say like, well, they wanted USC, Ohio State. Okay, but that game's going to happen once every 3 or 4 years.
Right.
And it's one extra game a year. Like, it's not like they're still going to have to play the other Big Ten schools. It comes back to bad leadership. I think the Pac-12 just overvalued themselves, and with the current market right now in sports media, I think it's tough. It's just tough to not have. It's tough to not have any bargaining power, I think, and it just didn't.
It's so. I mean, you said it right there. Like Stanford and Cal are 2 jokes of programs when you're speaking of the for-profit sports. I mean, they're great at everything that doesn't make money.
Yes.
In the world of athletics, they're dominant in everything that's irrelevant financially speaking. But the sports that make money, they're terrible at. And you would think that like because of this and because of a lot of schools in the Pac-12 are that way, that's ultimately why the conference dissolves. And yet Stanford and Cal are like it seems like if you believe the headlines that are out there, it seems like they're in the middle of a bidding war between like the Big Ten wants them, the ACC wants them, maybe the Big 12. Like it's like how if both of these schools are worth so much money, then how the hell is the Pac-12 not still a thing? That's the part that like, because the only answer you ever get with this stuff when you sit there and you're just like, damn, how did we get here? How does this happen? There's always like some smart ass that like pops around the corner and is like, I have the answer. It's money. And you're like, yeah, no shit, dude. We know it's money. But like,
sure, let's
talk about specifics, because like what you talk about a media landscape, Geoff. Like, for God's sakes, I'm trying to compute like how all of these schools think that they are just going to get more and more money every year by getting these bigger TV contracts. But then also, like, you and I both work in sports media, and we both aren't blind to like the realities of our jobs. That like every 3 months, it seems like one of these media companies is laying people off and like doesn't have as much money as they used to have. And I'm just trying to make sense of all of it, of like, where the fuck's this money coming from? Like ESPN is like dying, but then also ESPN, like, we better join the SEC. Everybody pile into the SEC lifeboat because ESPN's going to dump billions and billions of dollars into our pockets. And I'm like, how does that, I don't see the vision here.
I mean, the thing you can make the case, I guess, for is that, they actually make money off live sports, right? And they don't make as much money off Sports Center. Let's use them for example, right? And they make money off people watching live sports. So maybe that's the reason why it's okay to pay for these sports and nothing more. Plus, look, we know that some of these companies overpaid for some sports, but college football and NFL, you really can't overpay for them, right? I mean, how many people watch those games every weekend. We got here for a variety of reasons, man. You mentioned, the Pac-12 kind of leadership, right? Like you mentioned the Stanford Olympic sport thing. So the Pac-12 moniker, right, is Conference of Champions, but it's not Conference of Football and Basketball Championships, right? Like we have the last basketball team won a championship was 97. It was Arizona. And to be fair, no one's really been close. I think the Bruins went to 3 Final Four since then.
Yeah, 3.
Howland went to 2 and Nick went to 1. The crazy is UCLA.
They've been to 4. Howland went to 3 in a row, actually.
Yes, he did go 3. Yeah, they lost to LSU and Florida those 3 years. Okay, do you know this? You're a college basketball guy. How many championships have the Bruins won since 1975?
Probably just the one in 95, right?
That's it.
It's just the one in
95. John Wooden left. They've won 1 title. We can have a discussion later about if they're still blue blood, but like this is like a thing. Like you can't be the Conference of Champions and have 2 basketball championships since 75, right? Arizona has 1 and UCLA has 1. I think that's it. No one else has any.
So come join. Come on down to the Big Ten where we win Big Ten, we win national championships.
And football has the 1 in 05. But like in Washington, Colorado, won a couple of 90s, but we're not winning the ones that we have to win in basketball and football. I think one thing with I'm glad you mentioned the Big Ten basketball, because part of the calculus, I think, for Oregon and Washington to leave for the low number they got was you get money, your conference does, for making the NCAA tournament in basketball and obviously the playoff in football. And that'll supplement some of the lost income if 14 Big Ten teams make the tournament now, because UCLA and USC, at least, well, USC, I don't know how many guys are going to have in 2024, but the Bruins are generally locked to be in, right? USC's gotten better over the years. Oregon's been retooling. Like you can get more teams in there, you get more money for appearances. So it's just this weird, there's so many factors, man, about why this happened. It happened over years and years. And it's just like after this year, I do Pac-12 radio and we're done next year. Like we know that. Like
you just break down Oregon State and Washington State.
No, there's not. You can't do Pac-12 radio. Like you can't. It's done. Like you can't.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Everyone's left.
That's what I mean. It's like that's the part that I just don't. I thought the Pac-12 would just be greatly weakened. I didn't think it would actually just die in the snap of a finger like this. But one of the things I'm curious about is we're talking about like these super conferences and just the swelling of conferences is the fans' expectations, because I think one of the genius understated things about college football and the reason college football truly became a national sport, beyond like everybody loves football in this country, obviously, but I think the reason college football really popped off that nobody talks about is that up until the BCS came along, there were like 5 national champions every year. So like all these fan bases around the country have an inflated sense of worth and think that like we can get it back. We won all these national titles in the 60s and 70s, and like everybody. How many people probably won like the 1967 football national championship?
Yeah, I mean,
it's like 12 schools are claiming it. But now, like with you have Oregon joining the Big Ten, you have USC joining the Big Ten, Ohio State's already in the Big Ten, as we know. Penn State, Michigan, all of these are schools that expect to win 10 games every year, and that are used to like hitting that and trying to win conference championships. It's a zero-sum game, though. Like, what happens when like water finds its level and all of a sudden Wisconsin is fighting to be 500? And that's the part that like I don't think people have fully thought through. Is that like you can't? Not everybody in the Big Ten, USC and Oregon and Ohio State, Michigan, we're not all going to win 10 games every year. Like someone's going to. someone's going to take a huge step back, and like this idea that Oregon like took a step up, like maybe it'll hurt the program eventually. Maybe, I don't know. It's just like all that that whole part's very strange to me and doesn't get talked about.
So here's why I don't think it's going to affect Oregon very much. UCLA is going to be the same team, I think. Washington, we'll see. So college football can often be distilled into who has more talent than the other team, right? Like it's a kind of a like pretty good exercise. Look at the teams that win a lot of football games year after year. Tend to have better football players. Kind of no-brainer, right? We know that blue chip ratio that 24/7 Sports Bud Elliott puts out each year, where it has like the top. If you have over 50% of your roster is 4- and 5-star players, those are the only teams that win championships. That's it. That's only teams. You might get a TCU in the championship game, they get their asses kicked because they don't have enough good players, right? And honestly, Michigan outplayed them. TCU had two interception returns for touchdown. Michigan had 2 times inside the 2-yard line, 0 points, and they lost by 6. Year after year, the teams, even when Ohio State beat Oregon in 14, like overall, Ohio State had better players, specifically in the trenches, right? The offensive defensive lines.
Right.
They're just better players. Right now, Oregon has the second highest blue chip ratio of all the Big Ten schools. It's Ohio State and Oregon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we got dudes. We got dudes.
I didn't realize that.
Yes,
wow.
We have guys. Now, Lanning's in his second year. He's got to coach them up. We got to get better on defense. But we have dudes. We just beat Ohio State 2 years ago. Did you? Yeah, we did actually. I don't forget I don't remember the other games we played against Ohio State. Just the last one we played. Okay. It's 14-point underdogs in the shoe. We beat Michigan. By the way, we beat like the last 7 Big Ten teams we played. Small sample size, doesn't matter that much. But nonetheless, I think we're going to be fine. Washington, who's not recruiting terribly well right now, I don't know. USC can't recruit offensive defensive linemen. You can't rely on the portal, I think, to be that. That's how you recruit those positions. I think Oregon's going to be fine. Again, are we going to win 12 games in the Big Ten? Yeah, probably not. But 10-2 gets you in the playoff most likely, right?
That is true. I guess the playoff is expanding, so a 10-2 season isn't the end of the world like it has been in years past. So maybe that scenario that I played out where suddenly like Ohio State fans have to deal with more 8-4 seasons because like instead of beating up
Ohio
on the
State's not
Marylands
going to be
Rutgers,
8-4, man. You're only going to play maybe one Pac-12 school a year. And if it's UCLA,
that's true.
There's not much.
That's true.
It's not much of a worry. If it's USC,
That's a good point because the scheduling won't. It's not like we're gonna have to now play at Oregon and then at USC on back-to-back weeks or anything. We'll play like one of them.
I think I saw like an Oregon Big Ten proposed schedule, and it was like for 2024 or 20. Yeah, and it had Ohio State was the only of like the Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State teams, like one of those teams. It was in Oregon. I think it was in Eugene, which you owe us a trip anyway. So we need to make that happen. But nonetheless, like that, you play one of them a year. And to be fair, if you want to win a championship, you got to beat good football teams. So if Oregon can't beat Ohio State, they can't beat USC, we don't deserve to play for a playoff anyways.
We need a promotion relegation system within the Big Ten itself.
Oh my God, it'd
be the Big Ten A squad and the Big Ten B squad.
I do wonder if some point like schools get thrown out of these things because a lot of Big Ten schools are just there for just kind of they're just there.
Rutgers has been taking it on the chin with all this this new wave of realignment. There's a lot of I saw Stuart Mantel wrote an article today about like, let's revisit the Rutgers addition to the Big Ten. What the fuck was the Big Ten thinking there? It's just like
and so by the way, a lot of the teams that have moved conferences, like Nebraska wasn't terribly good. Now, Bo Pelini left and they've been crap since then. They were originally a 10-win team in the Big Ten and coaching changes. But a lot of the teams have moved from Group of 5 up to Power 5. Like Missouri's one that kind of switched, right? But they weren't terribly good either. They had one good season like in 2007. So I think Oregon, USC, Washington are going to be fine. Are going to be fine. It's going to be harder for sure, but that's life, man. Like it's not going to always be easy. Like I don't care. I'm fine with playing competition. That's fine with me.
Quick break to talk about our friends at Cars.com. Wherever life takes you next and whoever you're looking to be, there's a car for that on Cars.com. Whether you're moving from the suburbs to the city so you want a smaller, sportier car, or you're expanding your family and want a safer option, or you've taken up snowboarding and need more cargo space for the gear, or you're like me and just like have this deep insecurity about never having owned a truck before and that you don't feel like you're a real man unless you own a truck, which is kind of what I'm going through right now as I've moved back to the Midwest and I see people, not a ton in the city, but there are trucks out there, and I'm trying to figure it out. I think I want a truck. I'm still doing my investigation on Cars.com because their advanced search filters help you narrow down the car you're looking for. They have deal badges that identify the best deals, and they even have quick and easy ways to sell or trade in your car. Over 2 million cars for 2 million possibilities to meet your changing needs. Up to 50,000 cars are added daily to Cars.com, so you know you'll find a car that you will love. Find your next possibility on Cars.com. Where to next? I think the answer is yes, but do you feel like people have had a more visceral reaction to this round of realignment than ones in the past? Because I think like what's going on with every time there's a new realignment headline at this point, like the bomb has gone off and everyone's just kind of like sorting through the rubble of all this stuff. Yeah. But it feels like this time in particular, this latest wave has just like really, I've seen more, you know, whether people stick to it or not, I've seen more, I'm done with college football and like,
I'm boycotting the NFL. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. What do you think it is? Is it just the regional thing? Is that it? Is it just like
no?
Because I have the same attitude of like I see Oregon in the Big Ten. And it's nothing against Oregon. It's like all these West Coast schools in the Big Ten. And I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? I don't know if I can do this anymore. This is insane. Why do people?
I'll tell you why. I think people are like this. So I don't know about you, but for me, and I think I've heard a lot of people say this. I won't speak for you, but I think we like college sports because of the rivalries, of the shared traditions, of the scar tissue of playing teams each year, right? I mean, I'm sure there's teams that as an Ohio State fan, whether in basketball or football, you're like, oh God, we got them on the schedule this year.
Purdue football. Like, every time we play Purdue at Purdue, no one would know this nationally. I feel like only Buckeye fans would know this, but every time Ohio State plays in West Lafayette in a football game, and Ohio State is a top 5 team, they will lose.
Yeah,
they've done it. Right. They do it all the time, and that's like a team that like.
So when you look at the schedule and you see that, you're like, oh boy. And Oregon's is Stanford, right? Like Stanford has ruined many of our seasons. And no matter how good they are, you're like Stanford. And so we like, I was talking on other podcasts and just talking to people about like games I played in the Pac-12 conference, whether it was I played Arizona State or Washington State. Like you get used to the rhythm and flow of things. You get used to play and you follow the teams. Like I know all the quarterbacks in the Pac-12 conference. I don't even know who Ohio State's quarterback is this year. I'll learn, of course. I'll learn, but like I can tell you, every roster in the Pac-12, you become, you become like connected to the region you're in where you're playing games, and we like that about college sports. We like I can not pay attention for a little bit, turn on the basketball season. I know who the basketball players are, right? I know who's supposed to be good, who's not supposed to be good. We like this rhythm and flow of college sports, and it's becoming more professional now, right? Where we have the NIL and the transfer portal, which I'm all for that, but it just feels like it's more pro sports now with all the movement. And look, I'm sure I'll love at some point the Big Ten teams we play, but I don't care. Like Oregon, Arizona, there's a connection there for me, right? Or players that transfer from Oregon to Arizona, like players who go back and forth. They've beaten us on recruits. We beat them on recruits. Oregon, Iowa. Whatevs. Like, I don't get excited for that.
Well, I was at the game when Oregon beat Ohio State a couple years ago in the shoe. And the reaction, like, there's never a scenario where Ohio State fans aren't like wanting to punch drywall when they lose a football game. But the difference between losing to Oregon and say losing in like 2007 in Illinois and Juice Williams, excuse me, I think Ohio State was like ranked number 1 in the country, and we lose at home to Juice Williams in Illinois. And when I tell you, like, the whole city of Columbus was just like fuming. But as compared to losing to Oregon at home was just kind of like, damn, we lost at Oregon. Anyway, we can still win the Big Ten. We can still, like, people just like kind of didn't. Nobody knows anybody on Oregon's team. Nobody knew. They were just like some jerseys that came into the shoe and beat us, and no one was happy. But it was just kind of it's a school that's over there and whatever. So yeah, I think there's something to that, the familiarity and the way you breed familiarity is playing the same teams over and over and over and over. And I guess like my concern is that I think there's a misconception, Geoff, that like now everything's going to be set. And it's like, okay, so now these teams went to the Big Ten, these teams went to the Big 12. We kind of figure out what the rest of the Pac-12 does. And then everybody take a deep breath and now we're good. And this is the way the conferences are going to be. This is never going to end. The conference realignment's never going to end. I think now it's a very real possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen next year, the next 5 years, next 10 years, whatever. But if you told me Ohio State was going to join the SEC because they looked around at the Big Ten and were like, we're sick of being the only team that has any sort of shot of beating these SEC teams.
Yeah.
To hell with this. Like, we're going to go to the SEC so we can now start recruiting more guys from the South. Like, I don't know. We want to be a part of that world.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be stunned anymore. I wouldn't. And I think that, like, that's the part that's like blowing my mind, is that now you could literally come up with any scenario whatsoever that, like, the top half of the SEC and the top half of the Big Ten form a super league. And if you would have said that 5 or 10 years ago, everyone would have thought you were insane. And now I don't necessarily think it's going to happen, but I think, like, it could. And I think it's, like, worth fleshing out. Like, what if it did? And, like, how you know, is it possible? I don't know. All that's like, suddenly it's plausible, and that's freaking crazy to me.
It feels inevitable at some point we're going to have either college football as a whole breaks away and forms their own sort of league, or whatever that looks like, whether it's the Big Ten, SEC, or all the Power 5 teams, or they'll take all the schools, all the other sports with them. But there's going to be, you know, like a specific playoff for that power football league or leagues. And just it's a professionalization of sports, of college sports we're going to see, I think, over the years. I don't know when that happens now. I mean, the TV deal is not till 2029. A lot of it depends on the NCAA and what, you know, what their involvement is and role in really the sport moving forward. But I think for now we're done. But I do think
for now.
But even I think the Big Ten commissioner, I think it was the new guy. I know Kevin Warren for sure had mentioned, you know, players getting a cut of television revenue. Like, there's going to be these new horizons for college sports. A lot of it has to do with NIL. Like, is there going to be federal legislation? Which, if there's not, that paves the way more for I think, this professionalization of the sport. If they curb NIL at the congressional level, maybe that slows that side of it down. But there really is nothing stopping this from continuing to be these two, and that's why Oregon and Washington, I think, went in. Like, we'll take less money now for more money later. These two kind of top leagues. There's rumors today, you know, Clemson, Florida State to the SEC. Like, it's so funny. It's just like, how do you win an 18-team league? Like in college basketball.
Yeah.
How do you? Yeah. How are you you play 20 games? So you play every team once, and then you play someone a couple other times, and then you have a then you're like regular season champion.
Yeah. It's very strange.
What? Cool, I guess.
You could determine who's going to win the regular season championship when the schedules come out. You just look at it and you're like, well, it looks like they don't have to go to these 4 places where it's tough to play, and you know, and they get these easy games, and I guess that's going to be your champion. It's freaking wild. I don't know. My mind just goes to the old saying that pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered, and I just like fear. I fear
it's
that.
Fair,
like,
yeah.
I fear that. I'll say this: like, I think that the reason people are the fans I'm talking about, and the people that love college sports so much, I think the reason they're so fired up about this is because, yes, we're not stupid. We know that money has driven college sports forever. We know that conference realignment has gone on forever. None of this stuff is really new, but it's also disingenuous to say that what we're seeing now has gone on forever, because it hasn't. This is a whole new territory, and I think for me the difference is that I've been able to swallow that, like, the powers that be in college sports are pigs, and they want to get fat, and now it's like the switch has been flipped to where they're hogs, and I guess like the facade is gone, and like the whole they've always wanted to make as much money as possible, and they've always, you know, sold shoe deal, like shoe companies are paying basketball programs out the ass, and TV company, you know, TV networks, all of this has gone on. The difference is the administrators at these schools and the conferences have had to fit within this like framework of like, guys still have to be eligible. You still have to go to school. You have X number of years to graduate, transfer. Like, there's still like this understanding that we do care about academics. We do care about regional rivalries. We care about like all the things that make college sports great. And I guess like this newest wave has kind of blown the whole facade wide open, and the charade is over. And as you said, Geoff, like it's now full-blown professionalization. And my fear, as a guy who has grown up with college sports and loves college sports more than professional sports, I don't really understand what the sell is to just an average football fan of why you should watch college football in the year 2035, say, over the NFL. If it's like the same sort of structure of like, so here's the college football cell. We take all the best teams. Every team gets X number of dollars, and they pay them to get the best players on their teams, and then they go out and play each other. And you're like, that's the NFL, except the NFL has way better players, and it's way like if all the charm is stripped from college football, then why don't I just watch the NFL? Because now you're selling me like a worse product than what the NFL is. And I was always willing to look past like the quality of play in college because I romanticized all the other stuff. And I think like if you strip all that away, that's my fear with the long-term vision of this is like, is there really, is it I don't know. Is it a long-term answer?
That's certainly fair. But I will say though, you will get better matchups in total with this realignment, right? Like you're going to get Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State playing one of USC, Washington, Oregon each year and across all sports, right? If Clemson and Florida State go to the SEC, holy heck, Clemson, Florida State, LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Texas, whoever some years in Auburn pops up, Mississippi State, Florida, like you get better games. The question, your point is like, why would I care, right? And I don't have a great answer for you other than I just like watching sports, and in the end, like you root for your team. The question is, do you care about the other games in your conference now? Like for example, I know I work for Pac-12 Radio, so I watch a lot of Pac-12. I do the Joe Moore Award, and I haven't really said this out loud yet. I am great at gambling on the Pac-12 conference. I'm about 60% over the last 3 years. And I guess I'm going to lose it after this year. Like I'm going to start learning about Big Ten teams. I put my plays out, by the way, each week on Twitter at Geoff Schwartz. If people are curious about I put my record and everything. I'm like, honestly, I don't bullshit. I put the record out every week. You can track it. It's fine. Is like, why do I care about watching Iowa, Indiana now?
Yeah.
I'll watch Cal, Arizona. Because again, I grew up watching those teams play. I know the traditions. I know who they are. Even the same thing. Like I know Washington struggles in Arizona. They always do. I know Arizona teams struggle in the cold weather. I know UCLA goes up north, any sort of weather, they're not winning that game. The Bruins, I think, haven't won like an outside game in like north of the Bay Area in like 10 years. Like in the month of like November, like late mid-October and on, they like don't win games up north. It just like it's like all these things that I'm gonna have to learn about the Big Ten if I want to. And the question is like, do I have to take the time to learn all these things? And it's a bigger effort for the fan to get involved and know all these things because of those reasons. And again, if you're a fan, you're going to watch your team play, but why are you going to care about, like, to me, Big Ten basketball, buddy, I'm sorry. I've watched some of it.
No,
pass.
Jeff.
Hard pass.
No.
No interest whatsoever.
You take your sorry ass school back to the West Coast. Listen, if you're not buying in,
every Big Ten fan now has to watch that Oregon court at least once a year.
I know.
And welcome to that, because as an Oregon fan, I don't even like that court is. So it's a lot happening on that. What's
uglier, Big Ten basketball or that Oregon court? Is the question.
It's more about Big Ten tournament basketball. I am curious actually with UCLA and Oregon in there, because they get different type of dudes than I think some play in the Big Ten, like athletically wise. Did the Big Ten change, or do they change to playing the Big Ten?
So, first of all, Jeff, and you'll learn this because you'll learn quickly. The first season that Oregon plays Big Ten basketball, the tournament will come around. The Big Ten will shit the bed, and the Big Ten will have 5 teams seeded in a 1 through 4 seed, and one of them will make the Sweet 16. And it'll just be instinctive to you. You won't even have to think about it. You will be fighting with the trolls on Twitter. I promise you. It just comes. It comes naturally to every Big Ten person. I will be a Big Ten
supporter, but does UCLA?
It'll come naturally.
Do UCLA and Oregon have to change the way they recruit?
I don't think so. I think the Big Ten, and I'm obviously a Big Ten homer, but I do think the title drought within basketball is overblown, just in the sense that the Big Ten has had, 7 different programs? Like since we last won our last national title in 2000 with Michigan State, Indiana in 2002 played the national championship game. Illinois in 2005, Ohio State in 2007, Michigan State in 2009, Michigan in 13, Michigan again in 18. The Big Ten gets teams to the championship game, and then they lose, obviously. But I don't know. I think I think it's a little overblown. Now, the last couple years have not been great, and Purdue losing to a 16 seed is not great. And then one of the COVID tournaments where, Illinois lost to Loyola and Ohio State lost to Oral Roberts, and that was a catastrophe. But it'll come to you. It'll come naturally, Geoff. I promise. The first tournament happens. We get 2 teams in the Sweet 16. You won't even know what happened. You'll just be fighting with people about how Big Ten is actually very good, and they're all wrong.
I mean, to be fair, I've gotten used to the Pac-12. Where Arizona loses to who they lose to Princeton this past year. Was that who they lost to?
Yeah, they lost to Princeton.
The year before that, they lost to someone else they shouldn't have lost to. The Bruins just can't ever beat Gonzaga in the tournament. It feels like. So I'm used. Oregon's actually the one team that doesn't. They weren't in last year or the year before. They've had kind of some downtime, but they actually win their tournament games. They don't get upset very often, which is nice to see. No, I'll be a Big Ten guy through and through, buddy. I'm gonna embrace it. Right. I'm gonna enjoy the weather of the Big Ten schools. I want to travel. I think my first place I want to go is a whiteout, Penn State whiteout. It's my first one. Cool. I haven't been to Ohio State because we just haven't had a chance, and we played in Michigan, so I've been in the Big House. But that one's I really, really want to do the whiteouts. That's my first goal.
The whiteout's cool. Ohio State, I will say, and Ohio State fans get upset when I say it, but it's the truth. We're very spoiled, so games at the Shoe aren't necessarily an automatic awesome atmosphere. I'll just put it that way. It does depend on opponent. Now, I still think the Shoe can bring it one for a big game as well as anybody else can. It's just, unfortunately, on Ohio State's schedule, there aren't a ton of big games.
This is why conference alignment happened. Realignment happened. So you have better games, and more fans will travel to them.
If you go to Ohio State Indiana game at the Shoe, you're gonna be sorely disappointed.
I don't want to do that either. I'm not only going to go when Oregon shows up. I don't know, or USC shows up. I'm not going to go to random Big 12. I can't wait for my first short flight from Charlotte up to Newark and then driving a little bit south to New Brunswick to watch Oregon play Rutgers. My best friend here in Charlotte's a Rutgers alum, so I'm hoping we get that in the first. That'd actually
be that would be a fun basketball game. I don't know about football, but
that place is crazy, right? The Ruck.
Yeah. It's impossible to win there. Yeah, it's Purdue and Indiana both especially lose every single time they play there. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
Do you think? One more thing I want to ask you about, college football and pro football and the professionalization of all this, because this is something I think about a lot with I think college basketball and the NBA have a horrendous relationship with one another, where Adam Silver has zero respect for anybody but Duke because he went to Duke, and he hates the idea of college basketball. It disgusts him. He just wakes up in the middle of the night and vomits everywhere thinking about college basketball, which is why they have the G League and the overtime elites and all this other stupid shit. They directly compete with each other, and it drives me insane that there's not more of a symbiotic relationship between college basketball and the NBA. I feel like the NFL and college football have had a very great understanding through the years, where neither one has wanted to step on the other one's toes, and there's a mutual respect of how big they are at different parts of the country and all that sort of thing. And the way it's structured is you can absolutely be an enormous fan of both. You can have a college football team that you're obsessed with and a pro football team that you're obsessed with. And by and large, it doesn't cut into your time watching either one. Do you think there is a world where as college football becomes more professionalized, that relationship goes away, and suddenly we're seeing NFL games on Saturdays, we're seeing college football games on Sundays? It's like a direct competitor at this point. And the idea, because that's what I don't know, I toss that around in my brain. I'm like, how many years are we removed from Roger Goodell being like, fuck all this, if you guys are trying to be a pro football league, we're going to crush you, and we're going to play our games on Saturdays now. And do you think that's a reality? What do you think?
But so there's legislation that says the NFL can't play on Saturdays during the college football
really?
season.
I didn't realize that.
That's why. Wow. No, that's why. They absolutely would play if they could on Saturdays. But if you notice, they only play Saturdays when college football is done.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I thought they just. I'm so stupid. I thought it was just like a respect thing.
No. I'm getting the right. I'm looking this up right now for the right law, but it's there's a Sports Broadcasting Act of 1961.
Oh wow! I did not
And
realize
so
this.
it says here that the broadcast rights of pro sports leagues are exempt from antitrust decisions, but also says they cannot broadcast games on Fridays and Saturdays. But I believe that's just, again, when college football season's happening. So that's why they don't have games on Fridays or Saturdays. When it's over, they're all good. So college football, well, let's start with this. The NFL views it as a farm system for free. Like, there's no reason to
That's
really
true.
mess with it, right?
That's
But
true.
two,
Yeah.
college football has had to adapt. Like, they moved their playoff around for the NFL. Like, we're moving our playoff because we don't want to interrupt with the NFL because we know the NFL's king. So college football sort of gets that. But also college basketball and NBA are different than football because of the one and done rule. And like, there's no overtime elite. Like, you can't just go play in the XFL from college and then get drafted. Like, there's a process that's so strong in the NFL where you have to go to college, got to play well, and then you're drafted. There's a big draft at 7 rounds, not 2 rounds. And even 7th round picks end up being, if you get past the top 12, 13 NBA picks, you're lucky. If you get a Draymond Green in the 2nd round, like, you kind of get lucky, right? The NFL, there's more relationship with college because of that, right? And so I think that's also why it won't change very much. The NFL's king, man. Like, everyone knows it. There's no changing the guard here with that. The college season starts August 26th and goes to like Thanksgiving. The NFL has like 8 more weeks after that. Like, it's just a longer season. So I think they work. They play pretty well together.
All right, that's good because I actually was worried. I was like, I don't want to live in a world where I have to decide.
No,
because if that goes away, if the structure of like Friday is for high school football, if you're into it, if you're not, whatever. But that's just how this country operates. It's Friday's high school football, Saturday's college, Sunday's pro. If that structure goes away, then we actually do have a very serious problem in America.
Yeah, I mean, the NFL they would. I mean, obviously the Thursday night football games, compete with college football on Thursday nights, but college football on Thursday nights now doesn't really
doesn't do it for you.
It doesn't really. They stopped putting like the best games on that day.
Yeah. I remember like it felt like Louisville and or Virginia Tech would play like every Thursday when they still might, honestly, but that was before I let you go, what do Big Ten fans need to know about Oregon fans?
Austin Stadium is a ton of fun. Like, you're really going to enjoy coming out there. Good luck finding flights and hotels, but hotels are. I think actually Oregon's got to build a new hotel, like 2 or 3 hotels for Big Ten fans. Dude, it's a lot of fun. It's loud. It'd be smaller, on the smaller side for a stadium, but dude, they're loud and passionate, and they care about. The one thing about Oregon is we care about sports. Like, we want to win. We try to win. We invest in winning. And it doesn't always happen, of course, but they care. They care like the rest of the Big Ten cares about their schools. And so you get an opportunity to come out west. You'll love it. And it's again, Oregon brings it, man. Like, they do everything. I was
supposed to come to the Ohio State game at Autzen that got canceled. I was so sad about it. I don't think I told. Maybe I did. At the Super Bowl deal we were at, we're at India, and we just like talked each other's ears off for forever. I grew up an Oregon football fan-ish a little bit. I've always wanted to go to Autzen. The reason I grew up cheering for Oregon is, first of all, I grew up in Indiana. I'm not Catholic. I hated Notre Dame because of it. That's basically all it is. It's like, if you grew up in Indiana, you're Catholic, you love Notre Dame. If you're not, you hate them. The college football scene in Indiana was horrendous. And when we were playing the NCAA football games with my buddies, everyone always fought over the same teams. Like when Michael Vick was at Virginia Tech, everyone wanted to play with Virginia Tech, and then Peter Warwick at Florida State. I remember that being a hot team that everyone fought over. So all my friends would always fight over whoever like the best teams were. And I remember thinking, like, my galaxy brain idea for how I'm going to beat all my friends in NCAA football was, I'm going to pick a team that I know no one else in Brownsburg, Indiana is going to pick. And I think it was the Joey Harrington year. Oregon was like preseason. They were like number 8 on the NCAA football game that year, something like that. And I'm scrolling through like the teams, and I come across Oregon, and I'm like, there is no world in which any of my friends are ever gonna, like, they can't even point out Oregon on a map. No one's gonna pick Oregon. So I started playing with Oregon, and I just got really good at playing with Joey Harrington.
I love it
and
so
handing
much.
the ball to Ontario Smith, and like that was that was what I did. And then through that, as is always the case, when you play a video game over and over and over, you then want to watch the real world guys. So then I started watching a lot of Oregon football because I would just like point out, and be like, that's my guy that and then it slowly snowballed from there to like, I just kind of like became an Oregon football fan there for a second. And Autzen Stadium looks so freaking awesome, and I want to go so badly. And so we'll do that.
You absolutely should. It's funny that you mentioned that Indiana, because Indiana still is like the worst loss of my life. When Indiana came to Autzen in 2004. My first,
you were on that team?
Yeah, my first college game ever. Yeah.
No.
So Oregon has lost 2 non-conference home games in like 30 years, like insane amount. We don't lose at home. Washington.
And one of them's the Indiana Hoosiers.
Yeah. We lost to Washington this year in conference play. It was our first conference home loss since 2018. Like, we just don't lose at home. Like, it's like a hard place to play. Yeah, we lost Indiana 31-24, I think. We turned the ball over 7 times and outgained them by 300 yards and lost. My first college game ever. And I was like, holy. Yeah, the 2 non-conference home games are Boise State in 2010, I think. Chip's second. No, it wouldn't have been that year because Chip, we went to the championship game that year. I think it was 08 maybe. Oregon just doesn't lose at home.
And he lost it. I actually remember that game because that's like maybe Indiana's biggest win in program history. It was a massive.
We didn't even make a bowl that year. We weren't even that good. So take that. But yeah, I think we just don't lose many games at home in the last, again, for a long time now, because it's just a really hard place to play. It's just wet and gross and raining and just.
I love the idea of Phil Knight financing like a JW Marriott to pop up on campus now, because the Big Ten schools are the place to stay.
I love it, man. I mean, look,
come to Eugene.
Phil, there's a lot of wanting to win because of Phil Knight, right? He's 84, 85. He's still in good health and whatnot. But, Oregon, I think, was really looking forward to staying out west because they wanted to play in a watered-down Pac-12 because it was much easier to win, win the conference, go to a playoff. And, that obviously changes a little bit now. But yeah, in the Big Ten, like Phil, like he's gonna put money in to win. He wants to win.
Yeah. Do you think that in 10 years from now, the interest in college sports on the West Coast as a whole, not just Eugene, but just all up and down the West Coast, do you think it'll be greater or lesser than it is today? Like, do you think this move will help with that? Do you think this is more of like an individual school move?
Yeah.
Or do you think this will ultimately like actually be a good thing for college sports on the West Coast?
The schools that like sports are like sports already, and the schools that don't like them. Like, I don't think it changes very much. Like,
it's not going to change that much.
I think USC fans are very excited for the Big Ten. There's a lot of apathy with UCLA fans. They could care less. Like, my dad. My dad is his late 60s, loves sports. Bruno had seen tickets since 1977 at the Rose Bowl. Went to all those games from the 70s with John Wooden and all his teams. Like, huge Bruin fan. I think he's like doesn't care. Like, he doesn't want to watch UCLA Iowa. But there's gonna be fans like that just don't care. I keep disparaging Iowa on this. Okay, UCLA Illinois. Like, he'll watch because he's a Bruin fan, but you're not gonna get really new fans for that. You might get new fans when they play in Michigan State, Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State. So USC fans, though, they're pumped about this. They feel like they belong now, and screw the Pac-12, all the stupid things they always say. But Oregon and Washington fans, man, like, they love their schools. They love whoever they're going to play.
My advice to you, to Washington, to USC, UCLA, Big Ten things you need to learn if you want to ingratiate yourself in this conference. Number one, euchre. You have to learn how to play euchre. It's a card game that's a ton of fun. It's a Midwest thing. It's not complicated, but that's the although, like, at this point, like with Rutgers and Maryland, people don't know how to play. It's just a very Midwest thing. It's a euchre is the card game of choice in Big Ten schools.
Okay.
Number two, you might love this, Jeff. I don't know, but hoodie with shorts is the Midwestern man's uniform. So if you wear a hoodie with shorts on any campus,
my entire winter, sure.
There you go. So you'll fit in great there. You pop up on any campus, throw on a hoodie, and you're wearing shorts in any weather. Doesn't matter what the weather is.
Yeah, well, how about with like flip flops? Is that more of a West Coast thing?
Well, so I think people are split on it. A lot of flip flops are worn in the Midwest during colder. Like my dad doesn't wear flip flops, but my dad is a shorts year round guy, and there's a lot of those people in the Midwest that it's like 20 degrees outside and they're still wearing shorts. So you'll get those people that take it a step further and will wear flip flops, and it's like 49 degrees and they got a hoodie and shorts and flip flops on.
Yeah. Okay.
But there are some people that are very anti flip flop. I don't think that's a fully. Yeah, are you a flip flop guy? Flip flop guy, yeah. You'll fit in fine.
Okay,
no one will say anything to you. You can wear flip flops anywhere in the Midwest. No one's gonna say anything to you.
Okay.
And then I would say I think you need at least like 5 bars in Chicago. I think that's having lived in Chicago for 3 weeks. I've realized that every Big Ten school has like an insane number of bars everywhere. So like we got to figure out the Oregon bar presence in Chicago. I think you got to like.
So I'm sure
that's key.
I imagine there's an Oregon bar in Chicago already. Oregon fans are deep.
There's got to be.
Oregon football bar in Chicago. And then my buddy Dan Rubenstein, I don't know if you know Dan at all, Rubble. He lives near Northwestern, and I'm coming for his pizza too. But there's a Chicago.
Well, there you go.
Oregon Duck watch party last year. They watch football at Home Slice.
There you go.
That's what it was last year.
I mean, there's then you're fine. I think you fit. I think you got passionate fans that go crazy. You have shitty weather up in Eugene.
Chicago's right. It just rains a lot. Chicago is the one city, like big city, I've never really spent much time in. I never really spent much time in Chicago. Everyone says it's great. I went to Wrigley Field once. That was a ton of fun. About 2 years ago. But I haven't. We played there, but that's about it.
I've lived here for 3 weeks, and now I'm a full-blown Chicago.
I know. Y'all moved the whole operation to Chicago, huh?
Yeah.
How's that going? You moved everyone settled in? You ready to go?
The office opens in like a month still, so we're like working out of this like temporary office that, I don't know.
It seems like the office is going to have some like fun stuff in it, like a big, like a kind of like a,
it's going to have too much fun stuff. It's going to have like a full court basketball court, which I don't really fully understand how that's going to work when everyone's trying to record shows and, people are playing just like jacking up threes, and you got like 3-point contests going on right outside the walls of a media studio, but we'll see. I don't know. There's supposed to be a golf simulator and like a kitchen and a bar and shit. It's just a lot of,
but isn't that sort of like the vibe though? Like of,
yeah, it is. It is, but it's just like, I want to see it work practically, like in the blueprints. It looks awesome, but I want to see what the flow looks like, the day-to-day flow of like everybody using all this shit.
So you don't want want like, it's going to be like maybe hard to get some work done, maybe is that you're worried about?
Yeah, or just like if I'm recording a show and I just hear like buzzers going off out on the basketball court because I don't know, they're doing like 30-second 3-point contest or something, that might that might not be as fun.
It's all for the content, right? You got to do what you can. Content. Yeah.
Hockey and wrestling too. How does Oregon feel about like hockey and wrestling?
So hockey is, I think only Arizona State has hockey out west. Like
really?
Legit, and they're actually not half bad. Wrestling,
we gotta get a hockey program at Oregon.
So wrestling at Oregon we had, and then it went away, I think, when I was at school. I think I don't know we have wrestling anymore. It's a club. It's a club sport now. We got to bump that up. Yeah, get a real wrestling. We had wrestling and then it went away at some point. So yeah, it's I just have no place for it, I guess.
Last thing I wanted to point out, your Wikipedia page drew this to my attention.
Yeah.
Schwartz holds the Pac-10 record for rushing by a right tackle at 3 yards.
Yeah.
That's the blurb on your Wikipedia page.
I posted this the other day. It's
Can you elaborate on this, please?
Yeah, I posted this the other day on my Twitter. I said I'm now the leading rusher in the Big Ten as well from right tackles. So it's on YouTube. I can post it again. So what happened was I
must have missed your tweet. I didn't know you posted.
2007, and it was Chip Kelly's first year at Oregon. And the play we had was one of those, we called it a read option, right? We called it rope, where it's basic first year Chip Kelly stuff where the quarterback is reading the defensive end to hand the ball off to the running back. If he pulls the ball, then he's running option to the other side with him and a wide receiver or running back. It's like a 2-back set. So read option, right? Boom, boom. So I'm right tackle. We're running inside zone to the right, so the read inside zone, and then Dennis is supposed to pull the ball and run option to the left. Okay, if the defensive end on his side gives him a pull read, so we block the play, and I don't know this. Obviously, I can see it on film afterwards. As I'm blocking Lawrence Jackson, and I'm blocking him out away, and he circles back in to come like back to the play. So I just follow him back in. Well, Dennis had pulled the ball, but had the wrong read because the defensive end came right at him. If the defensive end comes right at you, you give the ball. So he pulled it. He shouldn't have pulled it. And so he goes, oh, crap. And instead of pitching the ball to his left, he runs back to the right. And then he sees me coming back in the picture, and I think he thinks I'm the guy he's supposed to pitch the ball to. And he pitches me the ball. I catch it. Now, what's funny is like when you watch on film, as I'm running to like turn back in, my arm goes like up like this, and everyone's like, "You're calling for the ball." I'm like, "No chance, I'm calling for the ball. Like zero chance, like calling for the ball." And it's funny because I remember it like it was yesterday, man. I caught the ball, and I look in front of me. Wide receiver named Garen Strong, who's number 21. I've told Garen the story before, and he confirms it. His eyes were like this wide, buddy. Like I've never seen someone like he was like, holy shit. And so I got 3 yards. Yeah, Lawrence Jackson tackling from behind. Petros is on the call. It's really, really funny. Yeah, Petros.
You said it's on your Twitter? I'll go find it. I gotta see this.
It's on YouTube too as well. The whole clip's on YouTube. If you go to like I can send it to you. But it's dude, it was fun. And after the game, Chip Kelly said to me, like, well, we knew we were gonna win because when that happens, you know, like you pretty much know you're gonna win. And then after the game, I'm walking up the tunnel. Now it was 2007. We finally beat USC. They've been on the top for so many years. And Phil Knight, well, I didn't know at the time, but someone jumps in my back and says, "You were leading rusher today." And it was Phil Knight. I was third leading rusher, but nonetheless, it was very funny. It's great. I'd send you the thing on the chat. There you go.
That's incredible.
It's there. Yeah. Dennis, just went the wrong way. The rest is happening. It's happening.
Geoff, appreciate you making time. Great perspective. Yeah.
Thank you.
Chatting. We're Big Ten brothers now, I guess.
I'll come to Chicago and like we'll shoot some hoops or something. I'm better.
Yeah, come to the new studio when we get it open and we can get some shots.
I'm better than your average bear at shooting. I'll tell you, I'm not half bad. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And I'll give you tips on because Big Cat can help you too with the Big Ten basketball defense. Like
he's good at it.
He and we're Batman and Robin when it comes to defending the Big Ten in March, basically. Like we got the playbook down. Buddy, so
I've had to defend the Pac-12 conference for years. I'm ready for defending my conference to death.
That's true. All right. Geoff, thanks so much.
Take care, guys.
Appreciate it. We'll talk. See you, man. All right. Thank you to Geoff Schwartz. Want to talk about Coors Light before we go any further, though. Everyone thinks about the day they will eventually get to retire and enjoy all the freedom that comes with it, but who says we have to wait decades before you get a kickback and chill out? Take advantage of that free will and spend the summer chilling like a retiree and pair those moments with Coors Light, the beer that is made to chill. Enjoy your temporary retirement with Coors Light. It's the beer that's literally made to chill. Pairs well with a retired state of mind. The mountains on the bottles and cans even turn blue when your beer is cold, so you know when it's time to grab another. Perfect for all your summer plans or lack thereof. No judgment here. One of the things I'm dealing with, it's kind of a retired state of mind, but a little bit of active. But I do know this. It pairs well with the Coors Light. Is I have started to do some yard work around my place. Not a big yard at all. Very small yard. I got a place in Roscoe Village. It's got like a very tiny yard, but there's some weeds popping up, and Moses is peeing on the grass and killing it a little bit too often. So this past weekend, I'm trying to get some yard work in. The weather wasn't great, but I'm trying to do a little yard work. And what do I have in my right hand as I'm doing all this yard work? An ice cold Coors Light. I'll tell you that. An ice cold Coors Light. Because this summer, I'm trying to chill like I'm retired with Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Drizzly or Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/Titus. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. All right, let's do. You know what? Let's do the record stuff. Let's do this is becoming. And I'm gonna do a little. Excuse me. I'm gonna release a statement here on the show before we go any further, TJ. One of the biggest complaints, and I texted you this over the weekend. One of the biggest complaints I have gotten since I started the show at Barstool, and you have been my producer. And a lot of times you're the second mic role. I mean, not even a lot of times. That's basically what you've been on this show for the majority of the show. I've had a lot of friends and family, not Coach Titus, I promise, but like people that listen to the show that are close to me that I know personally and text me. I've had a lot of people say, I like TJ, he seems cool, but holy shit, way too much Rutgers talk. What are we doing? Why do you allow this kid to hijack your show and talk about Rutgers all the time? What the hell is going on? And first of all, I take offense to it because one, you're my guy, TJ. That's how this works. Like if you're going to be producing my show, I will fight to the death for you. That's how I view this relationship we have. But number two, I also took it personally because I was like, do you think I couldn't just cut it? Like if I didn't want TJ to talk about Rutgers, I could easily just be like, TJ, shut the fuck up. Nobody cares. Let's move on.
Yep.
So like I took it because I'm like, do you think I'm stupid? Do you think that like I have bad taste or something? I want to talk about Rutgers because as it turns out, and this is the whole point, TJ, the haters know absolutely nothing. The haters are all idiots. And this is becoming increasingly clear. You and I have been right all along to talk about Rutgers this much because over the weekend, you go to 247.com/basketball recruiting /class of 2024 recruiting rankings. I think that's the official URL. And I'll be goddamn, Dylan Harper has a crystal ball, the number one recruit in the country, other than Cooper Flagg, who's a year younger than him. The number one recruit in the 2024 class. Ace Bailey is already committed to Rutgers. He's the number 2 recruit. And now the number 1 recruit, Dylan Harper, has a 100% crystal ball rating. What do you call it? Like forecast? Crystal ball forecast on 24/7 to Rutgers University. As it stands right now, the Rutgers Scarlet Knights have a very good chance of having the 2 best recruits in the country committing to them in the class of 2024. And the haters out there want to say that Rutgers is irrelevant and we shouldn't be talking about it. You don't want me to talk about the school that's got the 2 best players coming in? You fucking idiots.
And that's why I'm glad that I get to work on a show like this that understands the important issues in college sports and the important facts to remember and doesn't, complain about things like winning football games. Like that's not what's important here, Stuart Mandel, you scum. Hold
on, Stuart, I disavow that. Stuart, I do not want to call Stuart Mandel scum.
Yeah.
You can't. Yeah, your viewpoint is fair, I would say. If Stuart Mandel wrote an article that was like, what a joke that Ohio State is still in the Big Ten, I would probably...
That would be a crazy article.
Yeah. But I saw that today, that The Athletic was... that's so unfair, dude. That's so unfair. Like, I'll say this. Obviously, plug your ears, TJ. Obviously, the Big Ten, if you could swap out Rutgers and, like, swap in Clemson...
Yeah.
Obviously, the conference is way fucking stronger.
But guess what? You can't. So you're stuck with us.
Yeah. And I love it. I love that that's like Rutgers is kind of like a dinosaur of like the old way of looking at like it's Jim Delaney's dinosaur. He was like, we need the New York market for cable subscriptions. He got it. It's not Rutgers' fault. But like it's unfair that like in this new conference realignment wave, I don't think we need to go back and revisit Rutgers, TJ.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to do that. Rutgers didn't do anything wrong.
I think the biggest fan base that's like gets pissed off about it most often, and I can't even be mad at them about it, is like UConn's fans because we were in similar positions. Jack Mack hates on Rutgers openly on unnecessary roughness as often as he possibly can, and he's a good friend of mine, and I can't even refute him because I know that if the roles were reversed, and if UConn got the Big Ten invite in 2012 and Rutgers didn't, I would be just as mad. So, like, that's fine, but why are you hating from outside the club? You can't even get in.
UConn should have just, like, changed their name to New York University or something right before the...
Yeah.
Like, it's their fault for not being in New York City, just like Rutgers is in New Jersey.
Yep.
Rutgers in the heart of Manhattan, you know?
You can't go 2 blocks in Manhattan without seeing somebody in a full Rutgers outfit.
No, man, I was really excited for you because it was like twofold. It's like, one, I want to see you be happy, but two, I want all the haters and all the friends and family that have been texting me too much Rutgers talk. You're just telling on yourself. You're telling me and everyone else that you don't pay attention to the recruiting rankings. You know, that's all we're doing. If both of these guys were if Kentucky had the number 2 recruit and was crystal ball number 2 or the number 1 guy, and I talked about it, no one would say a word, TJ. And that just shows you the hypocrisy of these people.
I texted you this over the weekend too, that if I'm annoying about Rutgers stuff now, God forbid we get both of these recruits, I will be insufferable all year.
I do reserve the right to walk all this back, and if you do become insufferable, we just, I cut you off. But as of right now, I support it. Do not take this out on Ohio State. Like that's the other part is like I don't want Rutgers to now beat Ohio State by 50 every time you play them, because then at that point I'm no longer cheering for the Rutgers resurrection here. But yeah, this is and also like deep down, I think every so often it bothers me that I started at Barstool. One of the first things I said to you is, "Don't worry, Rutgers will make the tournament," and then they didn't make the tournament. And I think I hold myself personally responsible for that. So I feel like I owe you by giving however I can help Dylan Harper get to Rutgers. I feel like that's my penance for what I've done to you initially. So I have the other Rutgers shout out. Carly Lloyd was right. # Carly was right. That's all I'm gonna say. Carly was right. That's good on her. I want to acknowledge that on Sunday, Winning Time, the HBO show about the Showtime Lakers, season 2 debuted. For those who are new to the program and don't understand why this show is relevant to my life, first of all, it's an awesome show about basketball, so I'm into it just in that regard. But the other part is that some of you may remember that I auditioned for the role of Kurt Rambis for Winning Time Season 2. I did very well in my audition, TJ. I did so well, in fact, that I got a callback. I got an HBO callback. This is a true story. That I sent. There was an open casting call for Kurt Rambis. I had my agent reach out. They sent me some material to shoot myself doing. I don't know how. I'm obviously not a real actor, else I would know what this process is called. So I was shooting myself doing these lines. I sent the video in. They liked it. They called me back. Like I was hoping it would be like 24 hours. It was more like 5 weeks later. They asked me to do a live read with the casting director. I did that over Zoom. From where I'm sitting, I was like, it was the exact same lines, by the way. It was the exact same audition. It was all the exact same thing. I felt like I killed it. I felt like, whatever killed it looks like. I was like, I did the exact same thing I did the first time. I was like, if you like the first one, boy, you're going to love the second one because it's the exact same thing. Fast forward to Sunday, to my surprise, somebody else was playing Kurt Rambis, TJ. It's official. There was another man. There's another man. She found another man. So I'm just gonna talk through my emotions, see, because I was holding out hope, because like Hollywood, they don't necessarily tell you no, they just kind of like leave you on the hook, and like I was thinking, maybe they wrote the Rambis part out, and maybe that's a season 3 part, and they'll come back around, and the phone will ring for season 3. I don't know, but I was working under the assumption that there was still a chance I could get this part. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if I maybe they knew that I had a little knee soreness going on, like my knee wasn't quite right. So I think maybe they might've been worried about that, like filming some of these basketball scenes. Like, I'm trying to work through this just kind of like a tweak of my knee. And you have to think that's what it was, because my acting ability was incredible. I think I looked at the time I still do. I got the long hair, but at the time I had the Rambis mustache. I had the goggles on. I fucking looked like Kurt Rambis. I have like the same sort of, Rambis was an interior player. He made his money down low, getting physical with dudes. But if you actually look at like pictures of Kurt Rambis, he was a little wiry. He wasn't like a beefcake dude. He was like I actually kind of have the build of Kurt Rambis. Like I'm kind of just a smaller version of him. He's like 4 inches taller than me or something, but I have sort of the same build, right? Like I'm a little skinny, but I don't know. It's just like I was looking at pictures of myself in a tank top. I'm looking at pictures of Rambis. I'm like, I see it. I see the vision. In the end, they did not see the vision, and I know that there was a lot of buzz. A lot of people were really excited about season 2 of Winning Time because of me, obviously, and hoping that I would play Kurt Rambis. I think most of this country was tuning in just to see what I looked like on film. And they were absolutely let down, TJ. So I thought what I would do for this show and every show moving forward, for every Tuesday show moving forward, I think, because the people were clamoring for it. Like I told the story on the Titus and Tate show It feels like a million years ago, but when I first auditioned, I told the story about the callback and all that sort of thing, and I was like, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And people got excited about it. And at that point, the cat's out of the bag. Everybody's jazzed up. They're like, we got to see this thing become a reality. And then Sunday comes along, and the reality hits that it's not me. It's another man. And I think I owe it to the listeners, TJ, to give them the Titus cut of season 2 Winning Time. And I think so what I'm going to do on this show right this second, and also every Tuesday show moving forward, is that I'm going to watch every Winning Time episode. I am going to jot down the Kurt Rambis lines, the Kurt Rambis scene, whatever scenes Kurt Rambis is in, and I will, for the people, act them out on this show. So that way all of you can take me acting out the parts, plug it into the show yourself, and then now you have like a fully formed version of what the show should be. So I'm going to give everybody the Titus cut, and I need your help, TJ. I need you to do the table read with me on this. So it was an hour and 10 minute episode, I think, was episode 1. There was only one scene of Kurt Rambis in the whole episode. It's at the very beginning. Excuse me, I gotta get ready. The 1984 NBA Finals. The Lakers win Game 1, and the Boston fans start throwing shit at the Lakers as they're running through the tunnel back to the team bus. All right, so that's and then Kurt Rambis doesn't make an appearance at all in Game 1 or in episode 1. So what I think I need you to do, just to set the scene here a little bit, is I need you to boo like you're a Boston fan, and I'm Kurt Rambis running off the court as you're a Boston fan throwing shit at me. So if you can just give me some boos to cue me in.
Yep.
All right, here we go. And action.
Boo! 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 This guy stinks. Boo!
And scene. There you go. That was it. He had no lines. He just was like putting his hands up to like not get shit thrown at him. Those of you who are listening on the podcast, I guess you got to go to the YouTube to see my acting ability right there.
I have goosebumps.
Yeah, I thought so. I mean, now here's the crazy part, TJ. Go watch the episode and watch the fucking clown they cast instead of me. I mean, what are we doing?
We got to get you glasses though to really sell the part.
I know. I should. I you know what? I'll do that next week. I'll bring the glasses in. I should have. Here's another angle for.
Oh, whoa. Wait, Kurt Rambis is in our call?
No, it's not Kurt. It's me, dude.
Shit.
It's still me.
Oh.
It's still me. That's
right.
what's crazy. It's me all along. That's acting. No, I wanted the guy who got the role. I told TJ this like a month ago. I wanted to have that guy on every. I wanted to do like an episode recap with that guy. I don't even know his name. The guy who got the Rambis role to come on the show and recap the episode or like his part, which would be hilarious. Like we booked this guy and like I have him on the show just to be like, so how did you decide to play like how did you decide to put your arms above your head? And then he's like, well, what the hell show is this? And then that's the end of it. But the writer strike's going on and the Hollywood bullshit. So, unfortunately we can't do that. So that's what I'm going to do instead for the people, TJ. I'm going to give the Titus cut of Rambis. It'll be interesting when Kurt Rambis gets clotheslined, how I'm going to pull that off in the studio. but we'll see. I don't know. We'll do it. So yeah, that's it. And people are asking. I had a few people reach out after episode 1 aired, and they just they're asking me, am I bitter about it? Where's my head in all this? You think about like a guy like Aaron Paul, who the story goes was cast on Breaking Bad. It was supposed to just be like for a few episodes, and they were going to kill him off, but he was so good that they made him a main character in the show, and then now his career's taken off, and his wife's smoking hot, and he's got like a $1 billion in the bank and all that, and I think the obvious thing to do if you're sitting in my chair is just to think that that's exactly what would have happened with me. I think that's exactly where I was headed. And so the question is, am I bitter that that's not my reality? No, I don't think I am. Like I'm happy at Barstool Sports. I love my job here. I don't think it would have worked out anyway. I think like I wanted to make the move to Chicago, and I think like I needed to be in LA for my acting career. So I think in the end, the Lord works in mysterious ways, and I think it all worked out, and I'm not bitter whatsoever. Now, do I want winning time to know that they've made a massive mistake and they should have cast me in this show? Yes, of course. Yes, that would be cool. Will I laugh if the ratings for season 2 are absolutely in the gutter and, like no one's fucking watching this show because everyone wanted to see me play Kurt Rambis and now everyone's tuning out? I might laugh. Do I want to see this strike like just blow up the cesspool that is the Hollywood industry because they won't let me in? Because these jackasses won't let me be a part of their little game. And so like I would do I want to see like the whole fucking industry sink? Probably, but I'm not bitter, TJ. And I think that's the important thing is that I'm a bigger man here. So I will give the people the Titus cut every single Tuesday. And if you're listening to the podcast, I guess you got to go to the YouTube. That's the way we're going to go check out the YouTube. Go see the Titus cut of me putting my hands above my head to shield myself from the popcorn being thrown at me.
I think what probably happened was that they saw your callback and your audition, and they were like, this guy, if we have him play Kurt Rambis, we're going to have to rewrite history and make Kurt Rambis a way bigger figure on this team than he actually was.
Kurt Rambis wins Finals MVP.
Yeah, because he's just so naturally talented at what he's attempting here that like it would throw off the continuity of the series.
I think you might be onto something. I think that seems plausible, actually. That seems, and like honestly, I saw when I was watching the first episode, I was like, that's a waste of my talent. That would be a waste of my talent to just be fucking running through a tunnel with my hands up. Like, come on, what are we doing? You got to give me lines, let me get some banter with John C. Reilly going. I probably would have done that too. I would have improv a lot. TJ on set, I would have. I also think a legitimate concern I had was that I'm too good at basketball. I think that like we would have been shooting these scenes, and I just would have smoked all these dudes.
Yeah,
like I'm supposed to be setting picks and passing to Magic Johnson, and all of a sudden I'm like jab stepping, shooting threes over people, and they just got to cut and reset. And I'm like, listen, I can't control the gift. You know, like it just comes out. You put the ball in my hands, it's gonna come out. That's how it works.
I auditioned for Kareem, but I never heard back.
Oh man. What else? Oh, shout out to the local baseball boys here in Illinois. This ball club, the neighborhood boys put together a ball club. They're calling themselves the Chicago Cubs. They are red hot right now. These neighborhood boys I got around the corner playing here at Wrigley Field, TJ. The Cubs are, as of this recording, now they're about to, I think they just started with the Mets as we're recording this. They've started their first game with the Mets. But as of right now, the Cubs are 16-6 since I moved to Chicago, TJ, which is a 72.727 win percentage, which if you extrapolate that over 162 games, the Cubs are winning at a 118 win pace since I moved to Chicago, which would be an MLB record. Long story short, you're welcome, Chicago. That I told the Chicago guys, I told everybody that I will personally deliver a title, a professional sports title to the city of Chicago in the next 5 years. I don't think it's happening this year with the Cubs, but I'll be damned, dude. There's blood rushing to the groin as I watch these boys play, and I think the future is very bright on the north side. We'll just put it that way. So. Oh, the other reason I want to bring up the Cubs, I just saw this in my notes, by the way. I went to the game on Wednesday. They scored 16 runs. Back-to-back nights, they scored 20 against the Reds and then 16 runs against the Reds. It's insane. I watched them score 20 runs against the Reds, and I was like, I got to be there tomorrow night. I bought like a cheap ticket just to sit up in the upper deck of Wrigley. And sitting 2 sections over, they get on the Jumbotron. They start pouring beer on themselves. They start, making a whole scene. Are the same broccoli heads that were in this Chicago office causing the racket, TJ. The last show were these dudes, I don't even know how to describe them.
Influencers.
What are the influencers that brought chaos into the Chicago office as we were trying to record, and I had to go out there and give them a stern look. These same dudes were sitting like one section over from me at the game at Wrigley, and I just thought, I can't win. I'm becoming an old man.
They do. Yeah, I'm looking at his YouTube. We got kicked out of the Cubs game for this 4 days ago on his YouTube channel.
Yeah, I was at that game. Yeah, and I saw like all these like 14-year-olds rushing up to him, and I saw one of the 14-year-olds like talking to him, and then the kid walks away and he's like, "Holy shit, dude, we're gonna be on the vlog," and I was like, I was absolutely disgusted by what I was what I was witnessing, but I was also like, I guess that's the game, man. That's the content. Yeah, those are the guys. Those are the guys. Who are these guys? Who are them? Get them out of here.
For those that are not watching,
get them out of here.
It's Nick Nayersina, who used to work for the Nelk Boys group.
No.
And they do numbies. His last video, hitting on girls with Kyle from Nelk, has 317,000 views in one day. So maybe that's where we got to go with the podcast. Start hitting on girls.
We should be doing with I gotta ditch conference realignment talk and start
hitting on girls.
Just hitting on.
You got to come up with a signature riz. He's known for his signature riz, where he compliments girls' eyebrows.
God damn it, dude! I don't know what I hate more, that or myself for like just realizing that I'm beyond washed. Like, what's the level past washed up? That's where I'm at with all this. Where I just like, I don't know. But anyway, they were at the game. Congratulations to them getting kicked out of the Cubs game. Cool. Anything else before we go?
I just wanted to acknowledge what's going on with the Orioles right now because I think it's disgusting. The Orioles are having.
I saw this.
The Orioles are having like their best season in like at least a decade, probably more. They have a bunch of like hot prospects coming up. They're playing in the most competitive division maybe in the history of baseball in the AL East this year. And they removed their like play-by-play announcer, Kevin Brown, for what they called like comments on the Orioles past. And they're referencing a clip from when they played the Rays in July, and there was a graphic that they showed about how they haven't won a series in Tampa since 2017.
This guy,
that was it.
Yeah, that was it. And he was just reading off like they haven't won a series. And then
he said they're 0-15-1 in their last 16 series in Tampa, and they removed him from the broadcast team for doing that.
And it puts someone like me that's consuming this information in an uncomfortable position where, like, honestly, very stupidly, I will admit, but like I'm just being honest. One of my initial thoughts is like, I hope there's more to the story, and I hope he actually did something heinous.
Yeah,
you're like, no. I hope. Well, hopefully he said something racist, or hopefully he like groped a coworker or something, because. And then I hear myself think that, and I'm like, why would you hope that that's what? No, what a stupid story. What a just absurd. That's a.
There was another tweet that said that they had like criticized broadcasters for talking about players that were no longer with the team, and also like for wearing like shirts that didn't have Orioles branding on them in public. I don't understand what's going on.
Dude.
Like they got good for 1 year, and the ownership group just decided to like completely torch any positive PR that the team could possibly be getting by just the Orioles were bad. That's true. Nothing was said that was out of line.
Homer announcers are awesome in baseball, and they're very necessary because I'm talking about like the regional sports networks that you have your same crew calling every single game. They're great, and that's like very important, and that can't go away in baseball because like that's the familiarity you need with the teams if you're going to call that many games. And I don't know, it's a very necessary part of the way the baseball media machine works, and yet this sort of thing sucks. Like this is kind of the case to like get rid of that and just like have just random ass people like the way the Big Ten Network calls, college basketball games, and you just like cycle in like a different couple dudes that just like pop in to call this game, and then they'll go on to the next one. Because that's insane. That like you're working, like you should almost not be working for the team. You're working for the network, But then I'm sure the team owns the network, so then it gets muddy. But it's like, who cares? You should be able to like bitch about the team. If he didn't even say anything bad, but even if he did, in terms of if he just went on air and was like, the Orioles suck. We have sucked for 10. I think you should be allowed to do that because it's true.
Michael Kay had a rant about it that sort of made the same point that like the commentators are meant to provide commentary to the play on the field, not just jerk the players off all day, especially like they have been bad. It is what it is.
Did I saw that Giancarlo Stanton clip where he jogged around third and then.
I don't even know.
Can you imagine where you're like not allowed to be like?
Yeah, that is bad.
What the fuck's this guy doing? Yeah, this guy's bad. Why did you slam on the brakes instead of trying to slide to score a run? Yeah, that's stupid. I hate it. Boo Orioles. Now I have to cheer against the Orioles. Now instead of like cheering for a franchise that's been bad for a long time and now they're having a good team and like that'd be cool to see them in the playoffs and go on a little bit of a run and all things being equal, I might cheer for the Orioles. Now all of a sudden, I hate the Orioles. I'm going to cheer against them.
Yep.
There you go. All right. Thank you to Geoff Schwartz for talking to us. Thank you to all of you guys for listening. Those of you watching my beautiful acting on the YouTube channel, thank you so much. We'll be back. TJ's going to be in person next show, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, you're coming to Chicago for
my flight just got canceled, but we'll figure out a replacement.
Oh boy. I'm doing the bowling thing too. What is this bowling thing I'm doing? Promote this for.
I believe it'll be on the Part of My Take YouTube channel, and I believe it starts Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. It might be 3 p.m. Eastern, but Bolero.
We're just doing
16-person bowling event of some sort. I don't know all the details. Mark's playing, and I'll be around somewhere.
I'll figure out a way to win this thing, or I'll cheat, or I'll quit. One of those things. One of those three things will happen. All right. See you guys.